Welcome to another episode of Personal Brand Blueprint. I'm Dave Polykoff, founder of Zenpost.com, which is the personal blueprint for business pros like you to access the tools, templates, and tactics to attract, convince, and convert your dream clients online. Again, check out Zenpost.com to learn more about how you can launch, grow, and monetize your personal brand today. On today's episode, we have Keith Ellis, the #1 superpower coach in the world, best-selling author, and founder of the 10X Superpower Goldmine. Today, we're chatting with Keith about how we can use our unique superpowers to grow and monetize our personal brands. So Keith, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Dave. Delighted to be here.
For sure. So we're going to have a really interesting conversation today because it's a lot of interesting marketing tactics you're taking with your personal brand that I think people are going to get a real kick out of. So I want to get into that. But first, let's give the people an overview of exactly what it is you do and who you do it for. So let's answer the question, what do you do?
Okay. I help successful entrepreneurs achieve impossible goals. And the mind-blowing thing about it is it's actually easier than what they're doing now.
That's a great way to put it. And so when we talk about impossible goals, what are some examples of these types of goals that people are typically trying to achieve in their career?
So when I say that word, it has different reactions with different people. Sometimes people say, wait a minute, I can't travel faster than the speed of light, that kind of thing. And it's like, yeah. Okay, I'm not talking about challenging the laws of physics. That's not what I mean by impossible. What I mean, I'm talking about the things that you think are impossible for you. And we all have a list of that stuff, right? And specifically, I'm talking about something that you really want, but you think it's impossible. And you can fill in the blank. Maybe you want to grow your business by 1,000% in 3 years, right? Absolutely impossible. But wouldn't that be great? But then you'll start thinking of all the reasons you can't do it. I can't do this. I don't have this resource. I don't have that. I don't have the time. I'm already working as hard as I can, blah, 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 blah. So you think it's impossible. And my point is, it's impossible if you think it's impossible. You're right. You're absolutely correct. On the other hand, what you're really saying is you're saying I'm not capable of this. That's what you're saying. So my pushback to you and to my clients is, okay, what if you added capabilities? Now, when you put it that way, people start, you see their brains start working. It's like, I hadn't thought of it that way. Well, that's the point, right? What if you added capabilities to the point where you became someone for whom this is not only possible, but easy? And then I like to go through some examples in their own life where they've done this, but they never gave themselves credit for doing it. So the classic example is, how much money were you making when the year you graduated from high school? How much money did you make that year? And everybody goes, oh, well, I didn't make anything. I did, whatever. I was at the beach, whatever. And now fast forward to today. Are you making, let's say, 10 times more, 100 times more? Everybody goes, sure, yeah, you've done it. Did you think it was possible when that year you graduated from high school to be where you are now? No, that's the point. So you've done this already, and there are other examples. We all have examples in our life. You've done this already, so what if you applied what you've already done consciously, aware what's going on, and picked a goal for yourself that's your next 10X goal or impossible goal? I use 10X and impossible sort of interchangeably. What I'm really talking about is something that you think is impossible for yourself. I put a number on it because 10X is something everybody can get, right? And it does seem like it's just pretty far-fetched, right? Yeah, okay, I want to grow my business by a factor of 10, 1,000%. That's pretty far out there because most of us focus on incremental goals, right? 20%, 30%, this kind of thing. I did that for years. I wrote a book about it. The book was very successful. It worked. It was great, yada, yada, yada. And then I realized I wanted more. I wanted extraordinary. And that's how I came up with this framework, the 10X Superpower Framework. Bottom line being that you can achieve these goals. You've already done it, and I can show you how to keep doing it in your business, which is my focus, but also in your life. Because when you make a 10X leap in any part of your life, it tends to really affect the rest of your life as well. It's really hard to make your business 10 times more successful and not have some repercussions in your life, right? The rest of your life. So,
yeah, making 10x more money is a nice problem we all like to have.
Good problem to have. Yep.
Yeah. So this is like obviously a fantastic thing, helping people achieve the impossible, 10x their life. Who's like the ideal person that you would work with that needs this type of connection and offering in their life?
Yep. So I separate the idea of need and want. Okay. Um, I would argue, but I would argue that everybody on the planet needs this framework, this way of thinking, right? Not everybody wants it. So I'm looking to work with somebody who wants what I'm proposing to them. So case in point, I focus on successful entrepreneurs. I would define that as somebody who's built a business, the business is successful. In fact, the business is probably everything they ever dreamed of. And they have no time for anything else in their lives. They've reached the point of being a successful business person. Congratulations, that's spectacular. You've got freedom, except you don't, because you are overhead in your own company. You're constantly doing things at work, much of which you'd rather not do. They aren't the things that you founded the company for, right? But they're the things that you have to do to grow and to keep people paid and those kinds of things. So what I do is I help people focus on what would 10 times that look like. That's the first thing, and that's hard for some people because you say that to somebody. If you take it literally, and I'm proposing this literally, if you take it literally, what does a 10 times more income look like in your business? Or take another metric, 10 times more customers, 10 times more revenue, 10 times more profit. However you choose to define this, what does that look like? And people have trouble even allowing themselves to visualize that because their immediate response, even if they don't articulate it, is, I'm already working as hard as I can, right? I can't work 10 times harder. I cannot find 10 times more hours in the day. And the answer is, of course not. Nobody can. That's the point of the 10x goal. It takes you so far beyond what you're currently doing that you have to accept what got you here can't get you there. You have to change some things you do profoundly, and it starts with how you think. And the first part of that is actually imagining the 10x, right? And if you imagine it and you say, yeah, I want it and I commit to it, if you think it's possible, you're not being ambitious enough. That's something I like to get over to people, right? When I'm saying impossible, I mean really impossible. If you think, yeah, okay, I want to grow my business by X, you think you can do that? Yeah, I think I can do that. Add a 0 to it, right? You need to get to the point where you think, I just can't do that. I don't have the capabilities to do that. Then we have a useful goal, because what that does, we spend most of our lives, and I'm including myself in this, we spend most of our lives inundated with noise and interruptions and distractions. It's the modern world, but it's probably always been that way. It's just a whole lot more obvious now with everybody being connected and everybody trying to get everybody else's attention. So we get lost in the noise. When you commit to a goal that is so far beyond you, you think it's impossible, your focus goes from all this noise to whoosh, this is the only way I can get there. There are probably 1,000 ways I can add 20% to my business this year, if I think about it, right? And when you have that many options, you can't know enough about each option to make an informed decision. So how do you figure out what you're going to do first? Most people just roll the dice and hope they make the right choice, and they do a couple things and see at the end of the year how much their business grew. I'm proposing something radically different. I'm saying, no, you commit to this up front, this huge increase, whatever it is, 10 times better health, 10 times better relationship, but let's focus on business because it's easy to measure, 10 times bigger business. Focus on that, commit to that, and then immediately all the noise goes away because you realize that's not going to get me where I'm going, right? The stuff that has got me to where I am right now, the stuff I deal with day in and day out, the stuff that is burying me isn't going to get me to 10x, which means I need to get rid of that stuff, focus on what will, and then suddenly your life becomes simpler. So that's why it's actually simpler to do this. It's actually easier to do this once you get your mind wrapped around the idea of 10x.
So we're looking at not just the big picture, the largest picture for us. And we're seeing, okay, I I currently have all of these tasks in front of me that I think are helping me at least get incremental change. But
Hmm.
now I need to focus in on just the one that's going to take me from 0 to 10x. How do
Yeah.
we kind of identify that? Because we know we need to go big picture. How do we find what needs to be focused on in order to make that decision?
Okay. That's a great question. And the first part of that, I mean, we're sort of speaking hypothetically now, right? Which makes it a little bit difficult because what I'm proposing is that you actually figure out what this 10x goal is and commit to it. So the first part of that would be what does it look like? So hypothetically, let's say it's growing your business by a factor of 10. Let's say it's growing your revenue, your gross revenue by a factor of 10 over, let's say, 3 years, right? You can pick any thing you want, but let's say that because that sounds pretty impossible, right? So you commit to that. And then the first thing your mind does, first your mind's telling you it's impossible. And then you say, I'm committed to it anyway. And then your mind goes, oh, okay. And then it starts trying to figure out how to get you from where you are to where you want to be. I mean, it's really, it's like a miracle. The way best way I know to explain this is right now everybody's talking about AI, artificial intelligence, right? It's all about how do you take one of these artificial intelligence applications or engines and engineer a prompt that will get you some meaningful result from it. Maybe it's drawing a picture or creating a blog or researching customers, but it all comes down to how do I ask this machine to give me what I want? I have to engineer a prompt. And what I do is I teach people how to do prompt engineering for their brain, for human intelligence. The process is startlingly similar because you have to ask yourself the right question in the right way at the right time to prompt a response. Setting a 10x goal and committing to it, then you're essentially begging the question of your brain. And there are ways to ask that question. We can get to that in just a minute. But you ask that question, your brain starts obliging you. It starts saying, oh, okay. And one way to do that, by the way, is just to preface. Let's say your goal is I want to grow my business by 10 times in 3 years, how do I go about that? Now, that's one way to do it. Better way to do it is if anything were possible, how would I go about it? Now, suddenly you've freed yourself to think of anything. You're not thinking about the real world anymore. You're not thinking about all the limitations, right? And all the things you've told yourself you can't do. And you're thinking, well, if anything were possible, I'd do this. And then now your brain starts focusing on what this is, and it starts figuring out how to get you there. The next thing that follows very closely on that is you quickly realize that how or what is the wrong question. Not how do I get to 10x, who can help me get to 10x? That's the key to this thing. If your mission, should you decide to accept it, if your mission is to reach a 10x goal, whatever it is, let's say 10x revenue, if your mission is to reach that goal and you're committed to doing it, you have to add capabilities by definition, because what got you here is not going to get you there. So adding capabilities is really hard if you're just trying to grow yourself enough. But if you look at somebody else and you say, well, who has capabilities that can help me get there? Now you say, okay, well, this guy, I need marketing. This guy's a marketing expert, a guy like you. I need HR. This person over here is an HR expert. I need production. I need planning. Whatever I need, there's somebody in the planet that can help you out, that can bring to bear the talent and the capabilities you need. So all you need to do is collaborate with them in an appropriate way. You can hire them. You can have a contractor relationship. There are all kinds of ways to do this. But once you start realizing that the easiest way to add capabilities to yourself is to bring in the capabilities of others and to work with them, you realize there's no limit to this. impossible is actually almost a joke, because what you thought was impossible becomes easy because you've got these additional capabilities. You then achieve that goal 3 years from now, whenever you do it, and then you say, that was great. Now what do I want? And you go another 10x. And you realize, okay, I need these new capabilities. These other people can help me do this. And now it's not 10x, it's 100x. It's an exponent. So the cover of my book has the 10 and the x as an exponent. It's not just 10 times more in life, it's 10x more. So the x becomes whatever exponent you decide you want it to be.
Yeah, it makes me think of one of my favorite quotes, which is, it's not I can't, it's how can I? And I, apply that a lot to my life, where there's been times where there's been a roadblock in front of me, or what seemed like a roadblock. And instead of, well, throw your hands up in the air. I can't, there's no way I can do it because they told me I can't, or I don't have
Right.
the thing I need to do it. Just rephrasing the mindset to like, okay, how can I? What else do I need in order to make it happen? So let's talk about this book too, because there's a really interesting way that you have gone about, marketing this book and taking it to market. So kind of walk me through, what is this book? What can people learn about it? Let's start there. Yeah, what can people learn from this book?
Okay. So the title of the book, and book comes out next month, by the way. This is October. It comes out hopefully by the end of November. Come on, fingers crossed, we can do this. It's called 10x Superpower. And the X is an exponent, as I said. So 10x Superpower. It's something that we all have. Most of us don't know we have it, and I teach people how to access it and master it. So 10x Superpower is the title. But the subtitle says it all. The subtitle, How to Make the Impossible Easy. And that's really what I'm selling here, right? This idea that whatever you think is impossible for you, that you want enough to pursue, I can show you how to make it not only possible, but easy. So that's what's in the book. The book is organized into 10 breakthroughs. Each breakthrough is potentially a game changer. Just implementing that one breakthrough. You put all of them together, and you have this 10x superpower that makes you as close to unstoppable as a human being can be. Let's put it that way.
So 10 breakthroughs. Do you mind kind of giving us a sneak peek at one of them?
No, I can't do that. Okay, you talked me into it. So the first one is really what we've been talking about. It's thinking differently about the impossible. The title of the breakthrough, this is jargony, but bear with me on this. The title of the breakthrough is Normalize the Impossible. We have all been taught, okay, I've been taught, and I'm just spreading this out, generalizing to the whole world. But I remember very well when I was growing up being told, set realistic goals, air quotes around the word realistic, and don't expect too much from life, or you won't get disappointed. And that's just crap, right? That's the exact opposite of what we should be teaching our kids, what we should be teaching ourselves. What you should figure out is, what do I want? And then commit to that, and then the how, what, who begins to fall into place once you've said, yeah, this is what I want. This is worth my time and effort. It's worth the price I'm going to pay, because the world will give you whatever you ask of it, as long as you're willing to pay the price. If you're not willing to pay the price, then, if you want to be a gold medalist in the Olympics, you can do that if you're willing to pay the price. Then you start thinking about the price, and then you realize, well, let's see, getting up at 4 o'clock each day for 10 years, training for 4 hours a day in the morning and 4 hours in the afternoon. Maybe I don't want it that much, right? That's okay too. It's about what you want, what you're willing to commit to, and even if it seems impossible, in fact, it really should seem impossible to get the maximum effect, your brain will start making it happen. So the first breakthrough is normalize the impossible. It's think differently about the impossible. That's like this brick wall. Once you break through that, impossible means something entirely different than it did before. And it's one of those things you can't really unlearn. Once you realize, all I'm really saying is I can't do it now, but then you think back to, let's see, when you were senior in high school, could you do what you're doing now? No. That's the point, isn't it? Life is about growth. Life is about becoming a person who can make something special happen. And that's really all I'm talking about. Once you understand that, once you realize what I'm teaching is how people can seriously and literally think about impossible dreams and then give themselves the capabilities to achieve them. That's it. It's really simple. But once you start thinking about that, it's hard to go back. It's hard to go back and say, oh, that's impossible, because now you're calling your own bluff, right? Oops, calling BS on that. You know it's not impossible. I know it's not impossible. If you don't want to commit to it, that's okay. Find something you do want to commit to. But we both know it's not impossible.
And you've taken a really interesting tactic to market this book. And since this is a personal branding podcast and we're always trying to find ways to kind of make our statement in the industry and separate ourselves, walk us through what that marketing tactic was and why you decided to do that. And then what does that mean in terms of what that person is investing into?
Okay. So what you're talking about is I'm charging, as far as I know, I'm the first person in history to do this. I'm charging $10,000 for this book. I almost want to tell your audience to put your fingers in your ears when I say this, right? I'm charging $10,000 for this book, and there's a reason for it. The obvious reason is that it's worth it, and if it turns out it's kind of a test in the marketplace. If you hear that and you think this guy's nuts, no book is worth $10,000, then it's not going to do you any good at any price, right? It doesn't matter. If I gave it to you, it wouldn't do you any good. On the other hand, if you said, this guy says he can help me make the impossible easy, that's worth 10 grand, right? And then you've essentially self-qualified yourself into a reader who would get something out of this book. The other piece and $10,000 book breaks through the noise in the marketplace. Just from a branding point of view, it's really cool to be in a room with people or be online with people and say, yeah, I'm the guy with the $10,000 book. Now, everybody immediately goes, oh, yeah, you. And if you hear that, one of the most powerful things you can do in any marketing situation is put something out there where people instantly are curious about what it means. It's called a pattern interrupt from a psychological perspective. And what it does is it essentially opens a little door in their mind where you can now pour in the answer. They're ready to listen. And their BS detectors are off, not because it's not possible that you're BSing it, but because they're really curious. And then you dump whatever you want to dump in there, and then they'll make their own determination. And in my case, I'm telling them up front what this book costs. No hidden agenda, nothing. It's either worth it or not. I guarantee it to be worth at least 10 times what you pay for it, or you get your money back. But that's up to you. Now, then there's another wrinkle to this, because both of us, we've all read $10,000 books. Your audience, all of your audience has read $10,000 books. We just didn't pay 10 grand for them, right? Got them from a friend, got them at the library for free, whatever. But they changed our lives. That's what this is. But we've also got lots of books that are really good that we've read. Maybe we haven't even read them. We bought them, put them on our bookshelf, and there they sit. And the way to make this work is to make it come alive in your life. So I have this back-end coaching program that's spectacular. I'm bragging about myself, but it's spectacular. And what most people in the coaching business do is they give you some content up front. Here's my free book, or here's my $20 book, or whatever, called a lead magnet in the online world, right? And then they try to sell you their expensive back office or back-end system. I'm reversing that. I'm saying, here's the price, here's the book, it's worth it. Oh, and by the way, to make the book come alive in your life, I have this coaching program. I'm going to give it to you for free. And you don't have to take advantage of it. It's up to you. You bought the book's worth it, the book has the guarantee on it, and by the way, here's this coaching program. And it's a one-on-one coaching program with me. Part of it is, it's got workshops that are involved with it. It's got a community of people who are like-minded, community of successful entrepreneurs who are committed to achieving the impossible. Pretty cool. So this and other stuff comes with it. That's all included free with the book. So at this point, the marketplace is reacting really in an interesting way to this, because it sort of just clears away all the crap. You know the price up front. You're not waiting for another shoe to drop. You know you're getting a book that the author guarantees will be worth 10 times what you pay for it. Oh, by the way, and then you get this spectacular back end coaching program. And the value of a coaching program is it helps people with accountability, for one thing. You and I are talking about your 10x goal, and then when we get in our next coaching call, first thing I'm going to ask you is, what kind of progress have you made? How's it going, right? Rather than, I want this, and then forget about it and never go back to it. So that's all part of a coaching program. And you have accountability with others in the program, et cetera. But you also have somebody to answer your questions as you go through this program, right? This thing, when you first heard it, made so much sense. Yeah, I just have to choose an impossible goal. And then you get into it and it's like, what the hell's an impossible goal? I just can't wrap my brain around it. So that's where the coaching helps. But again, that's all thrown in for free for people who want to take advantage of it.
Can you walk us through maybe a time in your life or someone that you've worked with who have applied that 10x mentality, and then kind of what was their goal, and kind of what was the story of their outcome? Sure.
So I'll give you an example. This is from the information marketing world. Somebody who's a marketing consultant, and he had a successful practice selling books and online training, video training to do certain marketing stuff. I haven't asked him if I can share these details, by the way, so this is all anonymized at this point. And then he encountered this idea and the book and the coaching, and almost on a dime, he turned his business model completely around, because he asked himself this question. I mean, this happens. I won't say this happens most of the time, because I really haven't captured metrics on it. It happened to me when I found out about it. Anyway, so it happens to this guy that he's got the kind of a conventional business plan. Do this, and I'll have this result at the end of the year. And then the year beyond that. So he had a 5-year plan. And he turned that on its head, jumped to 10x within a year, which sounds impossible. Wait for it. That's kind of the idea. And I was delighted that he was that aggressive. Because the reason he did that is because anything less than that, once he started thinking along these lines, he actually thought was possible. And that was add a zero to it. It wasn't adding a whole zero, but it was, got to be more than that. You got to be more audacious than that, or else your brain's not going to help you out the way you need it to help you out. So he committed to this 10x goal, which was 10x his revenue, not his profit, income, but his gross revenue. And he started doing it. And he, at the end of the year, he failed. He only got an 800% increase. And part of the whole thing, of course, is helping him understand that the value to you of doing this isn't the goal you set. It isn't achieving the goal. It's growing into the person who can achieve the goal. It's adding to your capabilities. That's the benefit to you. Because when you've gone through that process, take this guy. He got, now this is the end of a year. Obviously, at the end of 2 years, actually he's in the second year now. At the end of 2 years, he'll be way beyond his 10x goal. And at any point, he can decide his next 10x goal. But he'll be deciding it from that new platform. he'll be deciding it as the person with all the capabilities he has created for himself that have given him, an 800% increase within a year. And then he can go from there to the next 10x goal. So then it becomes 100x from where he started. So this is really powerful stuff. And the funny thing about this whole thing, again, is, okay, in the traditional goal setting world, you'd look at this and say, well, I wanted to do this in a year and I didn't do it. I only did 800%. And it's like, what a good problem that is to have, right? And he knew it and he laughed about it. He thought it was great. And I float that out there to everybody. Whatever your 10x goal is, the win for you is not achieving that. I mean, it's great to achieve that. That's fun. That's fine. That's icing on the cake. The win for you is becoming the person, is growing into the person who can achieve it. And if you are a little bit shy of it, or maybe if you're 5 times more than that, that's great. Doesn't matter. What matters is that you have grown. And then your next goal beyond that, you set from that new platform, from that new you, that future you that has acquired all these additional capabilities. Anyway, I love that story because, he's a failure.
Failure of doing it 800%
right.
better in his business.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, this is great. So if people are interested then in growing their businesses through this process, this mindset, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you and take next steps?
Simplest way is keithellis.com, KeithEllis.com. They'll find some of what we've talked about. They'll find the price of the book, an explanation for the price of the book. But they're not buying the book here. What they're doing is they have the opportunity to take what I call the 10X quiz. Because what I've found is that a relatively small percentage of people, and I don't have metrics on this, I have a guess. It's less than 1 in 10. It might be only 1 in 100 people actually want to do this. Because I don't really have a good answer for the because. Maybe because they don't believe it's possible. Boy, that sounds like an alarm bell in the night, doesn't it? That's the whole point of the program. But people are afraid of all kinds of things in their lives. And one thing they're afraid of is that I think if you 10x your life, if you 10x your business, so 3 years from now you're making 10 times as much money, let's say. And oh, by the way, your relationship with your significant other is 10 times better, and you are 10 times healthier because all this plays together. You realize that, to make all this work on the business side, I need to be healthier. I need to be happier. And part of the reason for doing this is to spend more time with the people I love. So that factors in. That's all part of the plan, right? In fact, this thing blows people's mind. The way to get to this 10X, this is the dirty little secret behind this whole thing. You don't have to do more than you're doing now. You have to do less. And that's really hard for entrepreneurs to get because it means they have to let go of some things. And that's really hard for people to do. If you have enough ego to start a business, right, and say, I don't care about what anybody, I don't need a safety net. I'm going to make this work, just sheer willpower. If you have the ego to do that, and then somebody comes along and says, okay, you need to find some who's for this and for this and for this and do all these things. It's like, but I can do them. Well, yeah, but you can't do 10 times more than you're doing now. And there may be some things there that you don't really enjoy. Yeah, most of it I don't enjoy, but it has to be done. And that's the point. You find somebody to do what you need done who loves it as much as you love doing the things you want to keep for yourself. So I call these things joy strengths. That's one of the other breakthroughs. You learn who you are as a person. That's a very important part of this journey. You figure out what makes you so happy you would do it for free, right? What do you enjoy doing so much you're really good at it, and what are you so good at you really enjoy doing it? It's like this circle of joy that is the way I think of it. You find that for you, you say, that's what I'm going to do, and then I'm going to give this other stuff to other people. And that's hard for entrepreneurs to do. So, and then another piece of it is, if your life is really 10 times better than it is now, this future life that you're imagining, it's not unusual for somebody to say, where do I fit in that life? Right? It's kind of scary. What happens to my relationships? What happens to my self-identity if suddenly there's this new spectacular life? Do I get to come along? And of course, the answer is yeah, you get to come along. You're the one making it happen. But people have all sorts of reasons to keep from changing because they know where they are. It's the devil you know as opposed to the devil you don't, right? Anyway, very long way of saying that when you come to this website of mine, keithellis.com, there's this 10x quiz, and it's a 5-minute quiz. It's just simple, few questions about you. And at the end of it, you'll have a sense of whether you are ready to 10x your life, to achieve an impossible goal in your life or not. And it's okay to not be. But it's just kind of a fun little exercise. And then if you are, then I would invite you get a screen that pops up and says, congratulations. I need to put some balloons on that screen. Congratulations. You can book a discovery call with me for your first coaching session. It's a free session, but I do it this way because coaching is if it's done right, the relationship is key to everything. Anybody who's had a good coach in their life, you know what I'm talking about. So you need to figure out whether you want to work with me, and I need to figure out whether I want to work with you, because life is too short, from my point of view, to work with clients that aren't in the same space I am. It's a half an hour free coaching session where we actually begin the process of this superpower coaching, is what I call it. And it's all me asking you questions and you doing some searching inside and coming up with some answers. And you don't have to answer all of them on the spot. You can think about it afterwards. But at the end of the session, you'll get some value from the questions. And then you'll also have a sense of whether you want to work with me or not. And if you do, tell me. And if you don't, that's cool too. And I will have a sense of whether I want to work with you. And if I do, I'll tell you. And if I don't, I'll find a very nice way to say, have you thought about doing this over here?
Sure. I love that. That's a great way to filter out the ideal client, if you will.
Yep, that's it. That's what I'm looking for.
Well, that's all for today on Personal Brand Blueprint. A big thank you to Keith for being on today's show and walking us through all that is superpowers to grow your personal brand. To learn more about how to launch, grow, and monetize your personal brand, make sure to subscribe to the Personal Brand Blueprint podcast. Follow me, Dave Polykoff, on LinkedIn, as well as Keith. And check out zenpost.com for details on how to work with me directly. Links to all three, plus all of Keith's links, will be in the show notes below. Thanks, and see you on the next episode of Personal Brand Blueprint.
Thanks, Dave.